Hi, I'm Mash Ponigala, brand strategist at Spellbrand. I get a lot of questions about the costs of brand strategy. Now, brand strategy, of course, is a very loose term. Brand strategy could be made up of a number of different services. And this includes, of course, positioning, the actual brand strategy, and messaging strategy, pricing, and so on and so forth, all the way up to a complete kind of blue ocean strategy. And I will, clarify each of these in just a second. But I wanted to really discuss what these different services mean and how much they typically cost. Now, of course, mind you, every project is different, right? Every business, every situation is completely different. And prices and rates change every year. And I'm not talking just about our agency. I'm talking about the industry in general. So this is 2020, and that's why I'm going to give you ranges. And I think these are like a ballpark figure for about the next, year or so. Now let's start with the first one, which is, well, actually, let's start at the beginning, right? So before you get to strategy, you might have other elements such as consulting and things like that. So when you go for consulting, so you contact a brand strategist or an agency that specializes in brand strategy, and you might have a consulting kind of session, which is not a full strategy session, but rather a kind of a discovery process. And you do this if you already have a strategy in place, that is, you've already worked out a strategy. So you and your partners, or even if you're yourself, you've done your research, you've worked out the different angles, and you've come up with a strategy. You know that your landscape is so and so. These are your competitors. These are your target audience, and this is how I want to position myself. And when you have that, you can have a kind of a consulting session. And in that consulting session, prior to that, the agency sort of works out what that what that strategy is, and then they might sort of then go over that strategy with you, point out the flaws, if any, maybe tweaks and things like that. And of course, that is an hourly kind of, and different agency charge different prices. It could be as low as $100 an hour, or it could be as high as I don't know, $1,500 an hour, or more, $3,000 an hour. It depends. So that's the kind of a fundamental, just the basic kind of start. But then we have the basic strategy. Now, a basic strategy is where you're only looking at your brand, right? Your business. So you're looking at the core DNA of your business. And in this core DNA, you're just looking at, for example, your vision, your mission, your kind of core values, things like that, and you're nailing those down. Now, that kind of brand strategy could end up costing between $3,500 up to $5,000, right? And so I'm saying that it starts at $3,500, and it could start lower, maybe less experienced kind of strategists or less experienced kind of brand agencies might charge lower than that, maybe $2,000. But I would say a decent start for some good value kind of basic strategy starts at around the $3,500 mark. And then it can go up to anywhere between $3,500 and $5,000. And for that, what you're really getting is identifying the core DNA of your brand. What is your brand? Now, of course, you know your brand, you know your business, but you know it from an emotional kind of standpoint, right? You're looking at it because it's your baby, as your baby, right? And so you might not be aware of the 360 kind of degree view of your brand. Secondly, you may not be aware of certain things in a kind of a strategic process that could arrive at the right kind of values, for example. So a brand strategist or an agency specializing in brand strategy can work with you So they go through a discovery process. In fact, let me talk about our agency, right? So, and I'm a brand strategist, of course, and when I work on behalf of the agency with clients, we go through a discovery process when you're working on only the basic strategy, and we look at the vision, mission, and core values. Now, if the company doesn't have a vision, if the founders don't have a vision, then we help them create that. The same goes with mission and core values, and the whole kind of DNA, the brand tone, the brand kind of voice. That could be the basic kind of strategy service. Now, typically, that is not really enough. A basic strategy is good, it gets you started, but it's like, if you're traveling from, let's say, I don't know, New York to Milan in Italy, if it's a kind of a step flight, so you get the first flight from New York to London, and then from London you're taking another flight to Milan. The basic strategy is like getting to London, right? Or maybe even not. And that's it. So you're not really reaching your destination. And of course, budget constraints may force businesses to say, well, I can't afford a full-blown kind of strategy, so let me at least kind of nail down what the brand is at this stage, and maybe eventually sort of build up on that. That's fine. That's okay, as long as you have a long-term plan. So what comes after the basic strategy? Then you have the advanced strategy. And an advanced strategy is where you have your brand core DNA. So that's the what would you call the basics of your brand, the DNA, the core. So you got the vision, mission, and message, and so on. And you're looking at things like, for example, the audience, competitors, and differentiation. So these are, so along with your kind of core brand DNA, the advanced strategy also includes looking at the audience. Now, target audience is the most important thing. And you may think that you know your target audience, and you probably do. But a target audience is really very, it's almost scientific. It's very complex. And if you're trying to target very generic kind of segment and audience, then you're probably going to struggle with gaining mind share and market share, because audiences don't work as a generic kind of mass pool. Well, they do work as groups, yes, the psychologies of groups and so on, but typically for real growth, for a brand to succeed, your audience should be a single person, or maybe a couple of different persons, maybe 3 at the most, right? You should never think of your audience, and I know it's a misnomer, and target audience, it's a word that's been around for a long time, but it's actually a misnomer, because target audience, it's not like people, so let's say you have a business and you have a website and you're selling stuff, right? It's not like, and I've mentioned this in many videos, it's not like there are 1,000 people just all together in maybe, I don't know, a huge warehouse, right? They're all sitting, there's one giant laptop, they all have their credit cards out, and they're on your website, and it doesn't work like that, right? It's any given time, it's usually one person, maybe a couple of people, right? Sitting down in front of your website. Even if it's a store, even if you have a store and there are 1,000 people waiting outside in the queue, at any given moment, when your product is picked up, right? It's one person. One person picks up the product, looks at it, makes a decision to buy. And just like that, even online, on the website, it's one person. So, yeah, I know I'm going too much into detail, and the purpose of this video is to talk about the cost. So let me just pull myself back a little bit. Understanding your target audience and identifying the brand archetypes of your target audience, so that when you understand the brand archetype, then you can create, when you understand your audience archetype, you can create your brand archetype. And yeah, that's very important. So anyway, understanding your audience, understanding your competitors is also critical. Now, you might know who your competitors are, but usually businesses, brands, business owners, when they look at the competitors, they're usually looking at, okay, how is their website? What are their prices? What kind of marketing campaigns are they doing? What kind of offers are they giving? And so on and so forth. Which is yes, it's required, it's good, but it's quite shallow. You need to do additional kind of analysis. You need to do utility maps. You need to do, comparison at a market segment level, but touching on pain points, a lot of things. And I've spoken about these in, my other videos. So for an advanced strategy where your strategist would work with you to identify the brand core values and all that, create the DNA, and then work on your audience, your competitors, and differentiation. Very important, right? How do you differentiate? Now, differentiation, most people think, is one up on the competition. That is not differentiation. So if my competition is offering a pen that, looks like this, and I then create another pen with maybe a different color or something like that, or cheaper, that is not differentiation. Most people think that is differentiation, but that is not, and it should not be differentiation. Your differentiation is more fundamental than that. And I've done many videos on that topic. Now, a service like that would cost anywhere from $7,500 to $15,000. Right? Now, again, this is a decent kind of strategy. And there are, of course, companies like Landor, for example, agencies like Landor might charge $100,000 or maybe $200,000. But that's bigger clients and, they're more detailed process. I'm talking about an average kind of agency. Like at our agency, for advanced strategy, anywhere from $7,500 to $15,000 is what we charge. And advanced strategy is actually halfway point, but it can get you a lot of value. Advanced strategy can really set you up really well. Then, of course, after the advanced strategy there could be many other stages, but in my opinion, the next is the full-blown kind of complete blue ocean strategy, right? Now, a complete blue ocean strategy is not just about identifying your core values and things like that, but it's also about understanding, of course, your kind of positioning strategy, which includes your audience, your competitors, your differentiation. But it's also about building your brand persona and the messaging strategy and really moving away from the competition. So it's not a competitive difference, but it's about moving away from the red ocean where the rest of your competition is fighting and there's blood in the water. It's moving away, creating your own blue ocean. And that, of course, is where the maximum value is. And for the blue ocean, kind of full-fledged brand strategy, positioning strategy, messaging, the whole 9 yards, you're looking at anywhere from $20,000 to $35,000. Now, again, that's for the average kind of agency, average kind of client. Sometimes it could go up to $50,000, maybe $75,000, depending on what it is that you're trying to do. For example, if you're a clothing business or an apparel kind of brand and you go for the complete blue ocean strategy, you're looking at around the $25,000, $30,000 mark, right? And you might say, oh my God, that is a huge investment. And that's just the strategy part, right? Then I have the identity. Well, blue ocean usually includes the identity, but you got other things, right? You got to get your website up and running, and this might look like kind of too much of an investment. Actually, it is not. Because if you think about it, a clothing brand and apparel brand should have as a benchmark in its first 2 year and a half, at least $500,000 in revenue, right? If it does not reach at least $500,000 in revenue, then there is something fundamentally wrong. But reaching $500,000 in revenue doesn't happen by itself, right? You need a strategy for that. So if you're investing, let's say $30,000 or $35,000 or even $25,000, if you reach $500,000 or even $250,000, right? $250,000 in revenue in your first year. That's just 10%. If you invest in 10%, and mind you, that's going to be, it's going up. Your revenues will be going up year 2, year 3. So whatever you're investing, it's for the long term. Imagine all the brands and businesses out there, launching businesses without really investing in strategy. So what are they doing? They're saving money. Yeah, they're saving $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. They're saving that. Good. But what's happening? Everything is arbitrary. Everything is guesswork. Everything is looking at the competition and then saying, okay, they're offering this for this. How can we do better, right? It works. Yes, of course, but that is where businesses struggle, right? And by investing in strategy, investing upfront, 10%, 20%, 30% of your revenues for the first year, if you're investing in a good, robust strategy, then, it's going to make a huge difference. So don't look at investing in strategy as an expense. Look at it as an investment, right? And also, don't try to go for the cheapest offer. So if you contacted a few agencies or a few strategists, and there was one that was quoting, I don't know, $8,000 for the advanced strategy, and there was one that was quoting $5,000. You're going to save $3,000? Yes, but let that not be the deciding factor. Take a hard look at who these strategists are. What is their experience? What is their insights, right? What is their viewpoint? How are they thinking? What kind of principles are they advocating? Things like that. So you need to look at that and decide. It's okay to spend or invest $3,000 more, provided, of course, you have it, than just going for the cheapest offer out there, right? Let me give you an analogy, okay? A travel analogy. Let's say you want to Let's say, you want to celebrate your, let's say, 25th wedding anniversary. Or, okay, 25th is 10th wedding anniversary, 5th wedding, whatever. I don't know your age, so whatever anniversary, right? And you could plan your own anniversary, and these days, it's easy. You go online. There are many online booking platforms, blah blah blah. You do this, that, you read reviews, you go to TripAdvisor, you put things together. It takes you, I don't know, 2 months, which is good. There's another option. How about hiring a specialist, someone who specializes in putting together itineraries, finding the best deals for the maximum value, and a properly thought out, well-planned things that you didn't even know that you could do as a couple on your wedding anniversary and have the maximum enjoyment, places that exist that you never knew. So let's say they charge you, I don't know, $1,500, $2,000, which is a huge chunk of your entire budget. But if you're spending $10,000 for your wedding anniversary and you spend 20% of that $2,000 and you hire someone who does this, who is a specialist, imagine the kind of experience you will have, right? A 10th anniversary, or I know it's 10th anniversary, or it could be a wedding itself, right? So that's how you need to look at it. And so, I mean, I've been all over the place. I've been talking about different services and all that, but just to kind of wrap this video up, you need strategy. There's no question about that. You can do your own strategy. Absolutely. You can do your research. You can watch my videos. I've done tons and tons of videos on brand strategy, positioning, differentiation, brand archetypes. I did 12, 13 videos, a series on brand archetypes. And, I've done a series of videos on Blue Ocean, on how to go from red ocean to blue ocean, on brand storytelling, blah, blah, blah. And just not me. There are tons and tons of fantastic resources online, on YouTube, on websites, on blogs, and so on and so forth. So you can educate yourself, do your own due diligence, learn how strategy works, what it really means, the psychographics, and so on and so forth. That's one option, but do it. Second option, you want to save some time and you want to make sure that you get a specialist. It's like going to a doctor, right? You could do your own kind of analysis, check out WebMD, and look at the symptoms and say, okay, maybe it is this. So, and then realize that, if you take that medicine, you could get fixed. You go for it. May work, may not work. That's fine. But you could also go to a doctor, right? And let them do the diagnosis. Let them understand what the problem is. Maybe you think that you think it's something to do with your heart. I don't know, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it is something else. Maybe it's something entirely different that's having one of the symptoms is this, irregular heartbeat, whatever, right? I'm no doctor, but if they sort of diagnose the problem, then they can prescribe the right kind of medicine, right? So think of it like that. And if you're in the process of building a brand that you want it to be robust, that moves away from the competition, that gains mind share, market share, and so on and so forth, hire us, hire me, right? There's a link below that I'm going to leave. Just schedule a one-on-one call with me first, right? A video call where we will go over and then we can talk about strategies and things like that. Or if you just have questions about this and rates and all that, just leave them below and I will try to answer them. And another video, I will talk about the costs of design. So this is strategy. After that, of course, the visual language of your brand. I'll talk about typical costs and what it means or investment in the design, website, so on and so forth. So till that time, take care.